Hello, I'm Graham. I'm joined by Cato and Aaron from Barbarians of California. We're here today to talk some about the band and share some information with 93X listeners in Minneapolis. You guys have been making music for a bunch of years. What led to the origins or creation of Barbarians of California?
A bunch of years sounds a little longer than maybe it has been. Although I suppose a bunch could stand for more than three. So you're not wrong. But it feels so fresh and new to me now that it's hard to imagine that it's been more than a year. And time flies when you're having fun, of course. But the origin story is kind of somewhat boring, but I'll give it to you quick. Eric Stemmen, the guitar player, and kind of main riff writer, at least on the first record. And now I'm just gnashing my teeth. He's also the AWOLNATION engineer. So he and I have been partnered up in the studio for almost 12 years now. And he was always working on some of these riffs secretly. And I think a lot of engineers, if you were to ask them, have some sort of solo project going on that's secretive that they usually don't want anyone to hear. And Eric certainly fell under that umbrella. And then during the lockdowns, I was finishing up the fifth AWOL record called The Phantom Five. And then, I finished it up and I'm kind of like, well, now what? There's that, can't go on tour, can't even go to the beach here in California, by the way, which was hilarious. But anyhow, I forced him over a beer. I think a Baja Fog, which is a little bit of tequila in the stem of a beer.
Good way to force somebody, yeah.
Well, I'm like, look, have a sip of this. Okay, show me your riffs. What are they? Because he's a smart guy, and I assumed I would find them to be at the very least respectable, right? And so he showed me a few things, and I really liked what I heard. It was kind of disjointed and very different than what ended up being some of these songs on the first record. And I thought, all right, can you send me some of this grab bag of songs, maybe 5 songs, so I could listen on a drive to check the waves. By the way, I still went surfing even though the beaches were closed. But and so I decided I think I could sing on some of the stuff. Let's open it up. And I want to say the first song I sang on was No Sir, I Won't Wear Your Jacket. Either that or Dopamine Prophecy. I can't totally remember. He would know better than me, but so I threw down something on that. It came very natural. It was very easy. Easy meaning it was easy to care about it and be passionate about it. And all of a sudden I realized, hey, I know you had or I said to him, I know you had plans to have other singers, other guys come in here and sing on this thing, but no way. Let's start a hardcore band, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. You think he didn't want to share to actually produce it, or was just wanted to keep it to himself, or what did you take that to, or just wasn't ready or something like that?
Not everybody wants to put themselves out there with music, right? And he had been an engineer for however many years, and kind of a behind the scenes guy making a good living and chipping away at life in that way. So I think the last thing he thought at in his later 40s is that he was going to all of a sudden be a guy putting stuff out. And yeah. And when you're not a singer, it's hard to release music because you have to find someone else to sing on your stuff. It's a whole different deal.
Sure.
Was that the first time he's been in a band per se? I know he's done a lot of behind the scenes type stuff. Or
no, he was in a band called Tin Fed that was
Okay.
signed to, I want to say, Hollywood Records, one of those kind of labels back in the day, and he's from Sacramento. And so he was signed. His band came up in the era of early Deftones, quite honestly, early Corn. There's a band called Far from Sacramento that was pretty cool. And so he was kind of Sacramento hipster new metal royalty in a lot of ways. I know new metal gets a bad rap, but I don't know what else to call it.
No, we play it all the time. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. And Cake's from Sacramento, by the way, as well. But so yeah, he was just kind of around, and I met him in Sacramento with my first hardcore band fresh out of high school called Insurgents. And the guy who put out our record, just indie record label called New Age Records, he told us, hey, drive to Sacramento. There's this guy, Eric Stemmen. He's going to record you. I'm paying for it. I don't know. He probably got paid $1,000 to make a whole album. And we went to this studio that's sort of known. I think in some of the reverb programs on Pro Tools, it's mimicked actually, and I forget the name of the studio. People will be upset with me about that, but so we met there. It was really hot, and I remember on the drive down to Sacramento thinking, "Oh my gosh, we don't have a place to stay." So I just figured we were staying at Eric's house, and I called him from a payphone back then, and I said, "Hey, we're staying with you, right?" And he goes, "No way, I live with my grandma. You're not staying with us." So we had to figure out some way to scrounge up some change and find a lesser than ideal hotel. We stayed there. So that's how I first met Eric, and then went my own way. A couple other signed bands, tried to have a career, which obviously is most known. I'm most known for the AWOL stuff. And then when Red Bull Records down the line ended up signing me, they offered me to use their really nice studio in Santa Monica, and they said, "Hey, and you know this guy Eric Stenman." So I hadn't talked to Eric in over 10 years. We both went our separate ways, and only to go full circle and land in this studio and have this great opportunity to make music for free with him in that studio, and I jumped on it, and then I ended partnering up with Red Bull and putting out that first record.
Oh, that's awesome. Speaking of Deftones, they've been certainly going through a moment in recent years. I've always been a fan of them, and especially like them curating their lineups for Dia and their tours and all that stuff. What was that experience like, just considering where you guys are right now? We've been a big fan of your band and supporting them up on our show, but what was that tour? I mean, it just wrapped within the last week or so, I think, right?
Yeah, it was like kind of a dream scenario. I suppose if I were to nitpick it, I would say it would have been cool to do like a smaller tour first and then jump to the big arena moment. And we are scheduled to do a pretty cool tour next year that we should be announcing soon. And the order seems flipped. It's almost like we should have done this other smaller venue, still big for us, but smaller than an arena tour first, and then this one. But all the stars align, and I got the call. Didn't expect it at all. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, it's in fall. My wife is due in the fall, so I probably can't do it. Only to find out it was really early fall and wrapped up just in time. And I've been home for a while now, and she still hasn't gone into labor. Knock on wood. But yeah, so it was great. I mean, I almost felt like I had these cheat codes in a video game because I've done these kinds of rooms with AWOL, and here we are, this brand new band, first of three. No one knows who I am. No one realizes it's. I would say, out of the whole room, it felt like maybe 5-10% of the people put two and two together. So I'm just playing with house money, walking in here, having done some of this stuff before, and I just felt very comfortable. And everybody's like, "Where did these guys come from? These guys are nuts." And little did they know that I'd walked that walk before. So I did feel like I had almost an unfair advantage in a lot of ways, but it was a dream come true. I mean, these kids, there's older gentlemen like us and ladies, right? Sipping their IPA in the background or whatever, kind of like, this is my shit from the past. And then there's a whole new generation of more judgmental people like us, right? And then there's this whole new impressionable group of kids just going crazy, pitting. Like first song, almost every night there were multiple mosh pits, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever, and it was a lot of fun. And with this style of music, it's so aggressive and so ridiculous and so brutal. I do feel like I have a license to use a bit of sarcasm and comedy, not like in a Weird Al way, of course, or something like that, but I try to keep it as lighthearted as possible because the music is so intense. It wouldn't make sense to me to go even further and have like, really dark imagery or whatever. It's to me, what I fell in love with as far as Southern California punk rock and hardcore was to me in the 90s. And so I'm trying to carry that forward. But to answer your question, the tour is a 10 out of 10. Couldn't have gone any better. All the bands are very cool. They always watched us. So we were that band that, if I may brag a little bit, we were the band everybody watched, you know, and it starts with that. So if you're impressing the other players, you know, you're in a good spot, I think.
Yeah, it was cool. Like in Minneapolis, showed up early. You got the whole crowd to do the wave and everything. It was just not that I haven't seen a lot of great openers, but you guys definitely had some strong commanding energy to start off. It was really fun to see because you guys started the whole wave successfully, which is,
Yeah.
you know, I thought it was pretty cool to see. So
Well, to be fair, I have done the wave before. Like I said, with AWOL, we did a 21 Pilots tour, and I'm like, there's so many people here, and there's this. Why not try something insane? So I acted like it was a brand new idea, of course, on stage. I'm like, I have an idea. Why don't we try this? And then I do it every night and whatnot. And then as the tour progressed, I thought of new things to do, and I went into the crowd, and because I was getting everybody to jump, even people sitting in, you know, in the nosebleed seats, as they call it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get in the middle of this thing, you know, because I haven't been able to
yeah,
do anything like that with AWOL in a long time. In the beginning, I was more wild, and then as things progressed, it became a little more um it just became too much to put myself in those positions, let's say. And so with this, I was just kind of like, you know, a stranger cruising around. It was really refreshing.
yeah.
I was lucky enough. I was at Riot Fest last month, and I was one of the photographers in the photo pit and all that stuff. Kind of like you said, when you guys first came out, I saw a little bit of this, a little bit of, oh, who are these guys? And then by the end of your set, the pit was definitely going harder. The things were going, you know, more aggressively. They really got. I think they got the vibe of the music very well. I did want to ask you though. You had a really big bandage on your forehead for that show. Is there a story behind that? Are you okay? Or
I am okay. Thanks for asking. It's not that sexy. I wish the answer was I got in a fight with Zach, and he punched me in the face really well and it cut my head. But I had to have what's called Mohs surgery. Maybe y'all are familiar with that, but they had to remove what's called basal skin C word. And there's controversy whether or not that C word is appropriate for this kind of skin. So it's all good. It's all removed. You know, I don't want anyone to feel bad for me or anything like this. I'd like my wife to feel a little more bad for me, to be honest with you, but she's very pregnant, and that's not happening. But yeah, I just had to have some. I'm a surfer my whole life, and this skin was kind of weird. Actually, on an AWOL tour, I kept noticing I'd put my in-ears in, and it would nick it and bleed very easily.
hmm,
And so I'm like, this is different. And so I went in, sure enough, they said, this is something that we should just get rid of. It's not even, it wasn't threatening, wasn't dangerous necessarily had I not dealt with it for years, but I just gotta kind of take care of it as that. But for removing something tiny, it was so much bigger of a deal than I thought, and it was kind of gross looking. So I just wore a Band-Aid the whole time, and also to protect the healing wound from germs and whatnot. So of course everybody's like, "Oh, you're doing your heavy band now, so you got a Band-Aid like fucking Nelly or something." And I wish I was that cool, but instead it just worked out, you know.
well, I'm glad I went out and I enjoyed the set. That was the first time I'd seen you guys live. It was great.
That's cool that you guys were both at totally different scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's well, I'm glad you're feeling better and got that taken care of for sure. And congrats to you and your wife too. That's awesome. You should have said
Thank
that
you.
earlier.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's exciting. Is there anything you could share about the solo tour? Or are you just waiting for announcement? We're not trying to peer under the curtain where we're not welcome, but
No, it's cool. Yeah, I don't know when the announcement is exactly, but it's a tour. It's not a solo tour. We're opening up for um 3 other bands actually. We're first to 4, which is kind of a bummer, obviously, always. But I love playing with this band any chance we get. So I think the lineup, from what I can tell, is very exciting. It's a show I would go to for sure.
Awesome.
One of the bands is a band that I put in the top, 10 hardcore thrash bands of all time.
oh,
So that I could say. And quite honestly, I'm intimidated a little bit. I don't feel that way usually, but I'm like, these guys are really, really good. So we better be on our shit. So, yeah,
sweet. Well, hopefully
yeah.
you're coming to Mini. We'd love to see it. Otherwise, we'll
We're
probably
not.
travel.
We're not. I wish we were, but we will eventually again.
Okay, I think it's cool, with the contrast from what you're doing with Barbs and AWOL, that you've kind of like taken that lens of like, I'm gonna try some shit out, because not that the bar isn't high per se, but you feel like you've got a little bit more breathing room as far as expectations or whatever that might be.
Yeah, it's just been so refreshing to do something that is so ridiculous. And it's really only for ears to hear that
Yeah.
can hear that, right? So there are some AWOL fans that are like, no, no, this is X-rated to my ears. This is too much, and I respect that, and that's
Yeah.
great. And then but so far I've been lucky enough that again, with ears to hear have given us the thumbs up,
Yeah. I mean, I
and we're
discovered you guys organically after, I think it was Where
cool,
the Punk's At. And I was like, this
right?
is sweet. And then only by diving in saw any of the tie-ins,
Yeah,
you guys pre-existing. So it's cool to discover. I mean, any band that way is always fun to discover. I think any of us can attest to,
yeah,
but
And honestly,
definitely.
I discovered because Graham was playing him on the show, and I was like, oh, I like this one. Oh, I like this one too. And yeah, up to Modern Fashion, I love that one as well. So I'm hoping to see more.
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
I would definitely rather you like it because of that rather than, because of AWOL. And so it's been,
Oh yeah,
but I'll take any of it. I had to scrap so much to get anyone to care or listen to anything I was doing throughout my career, from me, the early days of Eric Stemmon to all the way till now. So, whatever it takes is great, but it has been nice and interesting kind of on a social studies aspect to see. When I first launched it, I just figured, let's say you have 100 AWOL fans, I figured 60 of them would just jump in, right? But it was more like 5 out of the 100, you know, uh, relatively speaking. And so it's been nice to really build it brick by brick, block by block. Earth Crisis quote, by the way, Firestorm, and kind of just see it happen this way. So we're making this whole new record right now. The next song comes out, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks. Not sure exactly when you guys are gonna have this go on, but
this will be in about 10 days or so. So we're putting this out
okay,
middle of
yeah,
October.
cool. And Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die and
Oh,
Many Eyes. Now, of course, he's sang on the song. It's called Pseudo Intellectuals Are Hating on My Band. And then in parentheses it says Pure Power. But so yeah, that's the next jam, and it's a thrasher. It's a little bit more um uh out there than, Modern Fashion is kind of like a pop song to me in a lot of ways. Per this genre, it's straight ahead.
sure.
Where the next song, Pseudo Intellectuals, is definitely more out there, more of a journey. And then having Keith, a singer I greatly respect, and on the track is really exciting. And when we first released Dopamine Prophecy, everybody's like, "Oh, it sounds like Every Time I Die." And and to be frank, I didn't study their catalog. It was more after the fact that I took a deeper dive into this stuff. I'm like, these guys are great. So it's hugely flattering and very fitting that I have him on the song, and he sounds amazing. And it's the newer Many Eye songs are really good too. The couple that came out recently, he's a really good lyricist, and we kind of have this friendly sort of like joke competitive. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you said there. Wait until you hear what I'm about to say on the next song. So we're stoked. And by the way, in addition to Many Eyes, Better Lovers are great too. So I don't know much about the breakup. I really don't. Like, I kind of came in way after the fact, and all around this whole Buffalo thing, Snapcase, like there's something in the water in Buffalo.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. You guys got to get on their Christmas show. If that
I
doesn't
would love
rub.
to.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yep,
That's
that'd
when
be
I
great.
first heard you guys. I was like, this sounds like very much in that spirit for sure. Not to compare or cause any issues with that
Yeah,
comparison. That's exactly what I thought when I heard Where the Punk's At's got the like hardcore with a little bit of like, for lack of a better description, like Southern twang to it a little bit or riff. But that's how
sure.
it sounded to
Yeah,
me.
like
But
I think there's like a stoner rock element to it, maybe that ties it together. But then, with Keith's voice, I could hear a similarity there, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I know he's considered hardcore royalty, so I'm not saying that about myself, but I can hear, like even on this new track, you can't necessarily fully tell who's who there, and that's a good thing to me.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, we're going to wrap up this part of the interview and jump into the show part. So thank you so much
Yeah, no problem.
for the time here.